Today we're going to be talking about the Golden Age Project PRE-73 MKiii of their preamp and whether or not I would recommend it. So let's get into the video. Overall, I would say the packaging is really nice. It is a really nice, sturdy, and stable feeling cardboard. It doesn't feel like it's going to get punctured super easily. And another nice little thing is that on the back there are some little kind of tidbits of information there to help you as far as if you're a newbie to preamps or if you're maybe a newbie to recording or mixing, you can kind of keep some of these things in mind and it'll help you as far as getting the best tone just straight out of the box. So let's get into why you would buy a preamp if you don't already have one, and if you've got just a regular audio interface as it is, why you would think about buying a preamp when your audio interface is already getting your signal into your DAW. And this signal that you're hearing right now is my Audient ID4. This is my interface. It's just the mic with a mic cable plugged straight into the interface, and I have no effects or anything like that going into Logic. And we'll hear how this sounds compared to the Golden Age Project PRE-73. Alright, so let's talk about why you would buy a preamp when you already have an interface. So for me, I really wanted to get into the world of studio rack equipment, outboard gear, stuff that's outside of mixing in the box. I've done that for quite a while. I've mixed on quite a few handful of projects over the years, and I just wanted to get a feeling of what it would be like to give more of my mixing control over to an outboard piece of equipment. And at first, I gotta say I was a little bit nervous at that idea because when you're recording something digitally into your DAW, you've got the ability to dial something back if you don't like the sound. Whereas, let's say I'm recording some guitar, I'm a guitarist, so if I'm recording one take of guitar that I really like and I don't want to go back and play it, but I've already recorded a certain style of flavor or a certain knob has been tuned a certain way on this piece of outboard gear, I can't just go back and decide, well, I don't want that anymore, I'm going to take it out because it's already been imprinted on there. It's kind of like using a camera with film instead of digital recording media. All that stuff is just printed on the film already and you just have to accept it. So with that in mind, I still wanted to get into the world of outboard equipment. I still wanted to get into that world and understand it a little bit better because I'm trying to grow as a mixing engineer. I'm trying to expand my horizons. And so I was looking at equipment that imparted a certain vintage kind of flavor. I wanted something that had sort of an old world kind of grit or color or just tonality that can't really be matched by some of the stuff that's out there today that's just really high tech and digital. So this is why I ultimately went with the Golden Age Project, because what they're doing is they're essentially it's not like they're the first ones to do it, but they are essentially copying the Neve 1073 preamp part of their channel strip, which is very well known for all the different records that have been recorded with that channel strip. So that was their main guiding inspiration, and then of course they put their own kind of flavor into it as well, and we'll talk about that in a second too. So there's a couple different switches to keep in mind with this preamp here. You've got, first of all, your mic line switch, which of course gives you a distinction between how much signal you're going to be sending into the preamp. And of course I've got the mic one switched right here because I'm using a microphone, but if you're using a guitar or anything that's carrying a line level signal, you're going to have that line switch engaged. Now the next one is going to be your high pass switches, and you've got two different ones. You've got high pass 1 and you've got high pass 2. High pass 1 gives you a high pass roll off around 40 hertz, and then that roll off is going to be looking like 6 dB per octave. for everything that's below 40 hertz. Now, high pass 2 is going to give you a high pass roll off at 170 hertz, and it's the same style roll off. It's a 6 dB per octave roll off. And I personally really like the high pass 1 for my vocals. I feel like it captures the sound of my voice really nicely. I think it even gives me just a little bit of a thump. Like I feel like I hear just a little bit of a thumpy presence whenever I'm speaking into it. I have compared it to the high pass filter that's on my AKG mic right here, and it just seems to my ears that there's maybe just a tiny little bit of, I don't know, maybe half a dB worth of boost around that 50 to 60 hertz range before it levels off and then rolls off on the other side. So just to my ears, it sounds really pleasant. I really like the sound of it. And then for high pass 2, I use that a lot for my guitars because I record baritone guitars for a lot of my music that I'm recording with my band Treasure Maze. The 170 hertz roll off from high pass 2 is really handy because if you're playing with a baritone guitar, there's a lot of that kind of muddy kind of characteristic that builds up if you're playing heavily distorted guitars like I usually do, because you don't want that baritone guitar to be conflicting with your bass whenever you start recording those bass guitar frequencies. And so that high pass roll off gives you just a nice little bit of shave off without getting rid of, you know, all the important stuff that does live kind of down in those lower frequencies for baritone guitars. So overall, it's really, really nice. Now moving on to the next couple sets of switches, we have our air section, and so we've got air 1 and air 2. These both give you a boost at the 30 kilohertz range, so way up there on the audio spectrum. Now the difference between the two is air 1 gives you a 3 dB boost at 30 kilohertz, whereas air 2 gives you a 6 dB boost at 30 kilohertz. And to my ears, it did take me a little bit to understand the difference between having the air switch just in general engaged versus having it off. And I feel like what they did, this is just my instinct here, I feel like what they did was, you know, if the bell is centered at 30 kilohertz, I feel like it's very wide to the point where it does go all the way down into that more perceptible range of hearing. But of course, you're kind of towards the end of the bell, so it's maybe, I don't know, 1 dB worth of boost perceptibly, but it does really seem to, in my experience, give you just a little bit of that extra sizzle that you're looking for just on the very top end of what you're recording. And for vocals, I really think it works nicely. Again, I think it gives you that nice little bit of extra seasoning at the end, without throwing in some of that harsher sibilance that exists around that 5 kilohertz range that we all want to dial out. Now there is one other thing that I thought was really cool to talk about, and it's the fact that the circuit that is designed on this preamp actually has 2 different gain stages. So the gain kind of goes on these preset lines between 20 all the way up to 80 dB, and right around 50 dB is when the second gain stage is activated. And I feel like, in my experience, it gives you just a tiny bit more grit to whatever you're recording. And so depending on what you want to record, you can obviously keep that in mind and use that to color your sound a little bit more. And of course, one thing to keep in mind is as you're raising the gain, you want to be adjusting your output so that whenever you're recording into your DAW and checking your level meter, you're keeping your transients from going way too high. You're keeping everything nice and condensed so that you have the most amount of headroom to work with it later. So overall, I really do like this unit a lot, and would I recommend it for somebody that's looking for a preamp? Absolutely. If you're looking for something that's going to give you a bit more of a vintage sound, if you're looking for something that is going to give you a specific flavor and color, and something that you're not going to have quite as much control of. It's going to kind of control the sound a little bit for you, but it's a nice seasoning, it's a nice spice to add to your musical taste and mix. I would definitely recommend getting this one. I really like the red too, if we're getting into the aesthetics of it. I picked mine up for 250 bucks on a sale from Sweetwater, so I think it's really, really affordable. It's a good entry into outboard gear. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like this, I'm definitely planning on making more content in this style. I thought it would be really cool to just start with the bare minimum of audio recording gear and build it out into kind of a dream studio setup. I haven't decided the end scale that I want to hit for that, whether it's the ultimate kind of bedroom studio kind of setup, or if it's something that goes a little bit bigger and beyond that. We'll have to find out together. But thank you so much for watching this video, and give us a subscription if you want to see more. All right, happy holidays, everyone. Bye.